What do you do, Chase? Don't you clap at the start of your videos?
And that's what some people do, but I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do.
Well, no. All right. Well, we'll get started. But yeah, thank you too for joining. Yeah. So I like to share this because this is the how to never lose. What did I call the name of this? It's how to never lose a friend to another agent, a friend or acquaintance, someone in your sphere of influence to another agent. And this is the simplest thing that when I first got my license, I did. And I remember I was at Coldwell Banker. I had no idea what to do. So I did door knocking. I passed out flyers. I drove for dollars. I did open houses. Nothing came from any of that. But we had these random raffles. And then we had like a Pictures with Santa event that was, I ended up having to take over planning it because they just had a Santa and a photographer and like no decorations, no nothing. Um, and so I took over with a couple agents, you know, making the place look like Winter Wonderland. And because I didn't know what else to do. So I sat and I thought to myself, how could I tell people I'm an agent without just cold calling them and telling them that? And I want to give them something of value to go to as like a, foot in the door. And it really worked well. So I just sent a message to I added anyone and everyone on Facebook who lived in the area. And I went to LinkedIn and added anyone and everyone in certain, and you could target it based on certain professions who typically can afford to buy in our area or whatever area. You don't have to do it that way because anyone can buy, right? This is equal housing opportunity. But you can be a little bit more targeted with it if you really wanted to. I like to focus on certain occupations, not necessarily because they can afford to buy, but because I could do other things to tap into that networking group. Like if I choose to always work with hospital workers and police officers, then I know I can always drop off trays of cookies, sandwiches, whatever it might be. And the more people I close in the Kaiser Hospital, the more they're going to start telling other people in the Kaiser Hospital who are also connected with me on LinkedIn. And it just has a ripple effect. Same thing with police or teachers or whoever. But what I essentially did was I just went and I had the shortest, briefest message. Hey, at the time it was, hey, the real estate office I work at is putting on this Pictures with Santa event. Here's a link to RSVP. I'd love for you to come. And I sent that to people, whether they have kids or not, whether they're in the area or not, whoever they were. And it led to, I'm not kidding, a ton of business. And looking back now, I got to a point where I ended up leaving and joining a team that provided a lot of leads, but the split was 50-50. And then sometimes it went to, I only made 40, then I made only 30. And so I went back and put more focus into inviting people to events again. And I closed less deals than some people who were taking leads, but I made way more income because the split's different. I know some people watching this recording are at companies that have leads that they take a different split. And even I know some of you get Op City leads with Realtor.com. I know that they take usually like 40% of the commission. That's probably, I think, the new split structure now. It's better to close your own leads because you always make usually regardless of where you're at, the majority of your commission. But when it's people within your sphere of influence, the process from start to finish is so much easier. They look at you so much more like a professional. You feel less like you're trying to win them over right then and there. It's just they look at you as the resource. With Purpose Home Lending, we're putting on this as well. So it's something anyone can say, hey, this mortgage company I work with is putting on this event, or hey, as a real estate agent, I like putting on these community events. It's October 18th from 4 to 7, but feel free to stop by whenever. There's food, drinks, and lots of, trunks to trick or treat at. But please RSVP if you can. Here's my link. Here's the thing is for some reason, I can't log into Facebook on my computer. Otherwise, I would show Facebook. But what I did with LinkedIn, it's very similar, is I would come to any of my connections and I would pick any area. But what I did is I went through my yearbooks. I went through, because I'm kind of from the area, I went through anyone who's connected to my dad, my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, like anyone who they can look at our mutual connections and say, oh, that's who knows this person. Great. All my past clients, I went through all of our mutual connections and invited them because I would take the time. If I closed a deal, I would have had a lot of their people and their friends, off their Facebook or Instagram. That's totally up to you. But you want to go through your connections and invite whoever, because you really never know who's going to come, or even if they don't come, that doesn't matter. What I like to do is I like to invite whoever, because I had my first 1, 2, 3, 4 deals. No, 6, 7. Holy crap. Yeah, my first 7 deals never came to our event. They didn't come to any of the events I invited them to. I went back and looked. But it was just, I reminded them. And for most people, there's like a moment where they start to think, I think I want to sell, or I think I want to buy, or I don't think my agent is doing a good job representing us either in selling or purchasing, because those were some of my first deals. My first my first listing was just someone randomly called Coldwell Banker, and that was awful. Hardest deal of my life. First deal. But then the other 2 first listings I got, they really had a bad time with their agent and switched and worked with me. First other few transactions, and I invited them to events. They never came, but they said, hey, but by the way, we're wanting to sell and we're wanting to relist our house. Can we talk to you? One of them knew my dad. My dad said, I have no idea who you're talking about. But the guy talked about my dad and said, oh, yeah, your dad does this. He really likes hunting. We love hunting. We just talked for an hour and a half at their house about hunting and hearing their stories. And they just said, what do you think it could sell for? Just send us the agreement. Let us know when the pictures are, when the photographer's coming. Thank you. That was it. That was the listing presentation. Just listening to their stories. And I never got that working leads. That's why I like to teach this. We use Eventbrite. And so I like to create, the custom links for everyone, so that at the end I can track who registered and send you their contact information. That way you can start to really build and foster that's my dyslexia. You can foster your sphere of influence, because if you have their emails, then you can send them market updates. You could send them monthly newsletters in an email about you and your family and life updates. You're Chase Chow and your house has a bunch of mold, and so you've got some contractors you can now refer to people. Great, here you go. Damati's over here has got her cleaning. My cleaning company's going great, but I still love real estate. Look at some of the deals I just closed. But if you ever need a price quote in our cleaning, feel free to reach out. Right? You can't send these people those types of monthly newsletters unless if you have their email. How are you going to get their email? That's why inviting them to these events are great. If they come, that's even better, right? It's a blast. I've had people say that they've done events where they spent tens of thousands of dollars on the event. We've had so many people come who just absolutely love it, and they come every single year, right, Chase? I think a lot of your friends and family come.
Repeat. Yeah.
You'll even have, these are events, kind of focused around little kids, like the pictures with Santa, the trunk or treat. I'm telling you, Chase, can you share? You had a deal close recently that was from, how old was the friend of yours that you invited?
27.
27. And who did they buy, or did they sell, or both?
They bought.
And who bought?
His parents bought. They were trying to sell in Oregon, but they couldn't. So they just ended up renting it out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And they all came. It was which event did they come to?
Pictures with Santa. It was his parents and him. His brother couldn't make it that day.
Gotcha. And you've had others too, though, that you've invited to the event that ended up purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty useful, I would say. I mean, just to add on to that, what I like to do when I'm taking op city calls is also to tell them that my team does stuff like that. And then I ask them if they're interested. That way I get to meet them in person, if it's close to the event time. I don't know if you like to do that, but.
Oh yeah, thank you. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, anything I think to my mentality is always how do I present something of value to someone without any expect. I mean, we kind of have an expectation, but it's just a way to make things more personal and to lock things in.
Yeah.
Damaris, I know you invited someone to our events for life reasons. She couldn't make it, right?
Yes.
But
Yes,
then
she could.
she referred someone to you.
Yeah, she couldn't make it, but of course, like she knows, by me inviting her to this event that I'm a real estate agent, so she referred me to one of her friends, and I was able to close last by the end of last year with him.
Yeah. How much was his house and how much did you make? Do you remember?
His house was about 500,000, something like that, and I make about 10K.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy to me is people will spend, and I remember I had a loan officer when I was a real estate agent who he was trying to get me to stop working leads, internet leads. He says, why are we spending so much money on leads versus investing money into our own sphere of influence and our past clients? I think what doing these events, what I started to realize was when people call me and they're frustrated that their friend or family member used another agent, I'm getting to a point where I have to start saying, no, don't be frustrated with them. Be frustrated with yourself. Shame on you. And if you invited them to an event and and you constantly were reminding them you're an agent, then that's different, right? But usually it's, oh, I didn't invite them because they don't have kids. I didn't invite them because they live way up in the hills and it's probably too far of a drive from that for them. That's not the point. The point is to remind people constantly that you're an agent so that when it's time for them to buy or sell, they remember and they go to you. That's why I like using social media. If you're posting on social media, you should also be messaging the people you're following because social media and the algorithm picks that up as these people like to interact with each other. So let's show this person's content more to this other person. Um, and I found that when I was inviting people to events, they would tell me that they started seeing a lot more of my posts. And they said, "Oh yeah, you're killing it. You just sold a house." I'm like, "No, I didn't." "Oh yeah, I did an open house several weeks ago." Um, and so like I said, whether people come or not, it's huge. Damari was sharing right before this that that friend that referred her, well, she's a great friend. Here's the thing: if you did not remind her by inviting her to those events, there's a really good chance she would not have referred you to that person because you weren't that part of your life and that part of you isn't forefront of their mind. Oh, you're looking to buy? Oh, I've got an agent. She's a great friend of mine. It just, oh, you're looking to buy. Okay. And they move on in the conversation. When you've been inviting them to things, they just look at you differently. And it just reminds them, especially this time of year is great. I love the trunk or treat because what happens after Halloween, all the Friendsgivings, all the Thanksgivings, Christmas time is great too for our pictures with Santa because then you have everyone's meeting with their friends, their family, doing fun activities, and usually they're doing it over a meal. Um, when they're doing it over a meal, they have a conversation. Even work Christmas parties are great because they start talking to people and people start sharing things like, oh, we're looking to move, we're looking to buy, or looking to sell. And that is the time when people are going to say and remember, oh, you know what? I've got a great agent. They actually just put this event on. I wasn't able to make it, but you should talk to Cameron. You should talk to Chase, Damaris. Um, and so you anyone who loses clients to oh that they went with another agent. I have people on Facebook that I'm friends with that I've been friends with years that just sold their house. We're excited to announce we sold our house. Shame on me. I did not keep inviting them to our events, and that's my fault. All it took was a pre-typed out message that I copy with my link to Eventbrite. I copy it and I paste it and I just hit send, send, send. What happens is when you go through your list on Facebook, and I wish I could log into Facebook, but can't remember my password, so that's fun. Um, Facebook will eventually tell you that it thinks you're soliciting people too much, so it'll say you can't send messages anymore. I just wait a few days and then I started up again. But LinkedIn's great as well. I'm telling you though, if you just post it, it has very little effect. Posting anything has very little effect. You need to personally invite people. I've posted about it and had people say, "Oh, we." Like text me and say, "Hey, do you know of any good trunk or treats?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just posted. We're hosting one next week on Friday." You need to invite them. People just don't see social media as often, and like I said, inviting them just has like 100 times effect in their own mind, because they feel like, oh, this person thought of me. I think that's a lot more personal than door knocking, cold calling, work in the neighborhood, open houses. I mean, shoot, I would even do it at an open house. If you're not good at converting people, say, hey, by the way, my brokerage is putting this, or the as a real estate agent, own it. I say, and any of you should own it like this is your event. I'm all for it. Chase, you can go and say, hey, as a real estate agent, I really like putting on these community events. I keep it private to only people that are in my sphere of influence. But here, there's going to be free food, free drinks, lot of cars. Love for you to join. Please RSVP if you can. Here's the address here, but here are the details in this link. Copy and paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Just send it to as many people as you can, and I think you'll convert a lot of future business. Anything else you two want to share about it?
Can I share a story about how I invited my friend to a bunch of events? She ended up showing to up to a couple, but they ended up going with a different realtor because their parents speak a different language.
Okay.
So I had to
Well,
kind
their
of be
parents-
okay with taking that loss, but still know that my friend would refer me to other people.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not perfect, but at the same time, I think
Yeah.
the thing that I've run into is a lot of people will complain that someone used another agent, but my question would then be like, how often are you reminding them that you're an agent? Well, I post all the time on social media. I'm sorry. Social media is rough. I last 2 posts and I'm off. And I'm like, oh, I'm already bored, or oh, I can't watch any more of this political stuff, which ruins my algorithm because then I just keep seeing the same 2 types of content.
For sure.
But you posting about it's just not enough. You got to stay in front, and I feel like it's an easy thing. If any of you watching the recording have like a teenage child or a niece or nephew or friend or neighbor who's a teenager looking for their first job, I paid my niece. I could only afford I think it was 1 hour a day. It was her first job. Paid her 5 days a week, so $50 a week. Just 1 hour. Her job was to copy and paste and send messages to people. And then when it wouldn't let her send any more messages and she still had extra time in that 1 hour, all she did was click add friend, add friend, add friend. She'd go to LinkedIn, connect. That was her job. And honestly, that little investment has paid off, like, I don't even know, 10x, 100x, 1000x, right? One $10,000 commission check. Let's say she did that for, I think she did it for like 2 months. I mean, yeah, that's like almost 100x return on its investment. And we pay for it. Other than I'd love for you to show up with a decorated car. That'd be great. But yeah, thank you two for joining, and thanks for anyone watching the recording. Hopefully this helps. Ask for details and I'd love to help.